Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a thesis about why I think Facebook and Google are going to be in severe trouble and the war is coming for the ad revenue game by 2020. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, it's 2019. What war are you talking about? What ad war? What is all of this? Well, presidential uprunners want to attack these companies because they are selling your information and becoming monopolies. The old generation doesn't even know how this works, as we've seen Mark Zuckerberg sitting in court answering the most monotonous, dumb questions ever. But the new runner-ups and the younger individuals that are starting to get into politics are going to be attacking these companies. And I want to break this down for you, so let's jump right into this.
Data as a property right.
Yeah, so right now you have companies that are profiting to the tune of sometimes billions of dollars on the backs of our data. And in the healthcare space in particular, our data can be worth hundreds of dollars, and it's getting sold and resold and packaged up in all sorts of ways. Now, most of us aren't really aware of this. And so the goal is to say, look, if someone's profiting from our data, shouldn't it be us, at least in part? It's our data after all. So the goal is to make it so that we own our own data. And then if we choose to share it with companies for our own convenience, then at least we get like a tiny slice, and we can, if we want, turn that off.
So Facebook is not gonna like that, and neither is Google.
No, they probably will not like that a lot, because they're some of the biggest beneficiaries of the fact that right now it's a bit of a free-for-all.
Welcome back, my passive income investors. Like today, this is so crucial, so important. I'm giving you a heads up to something that is going to be a huge problem for these companies in the near distant future. And it's something not a lot of people are talking about, but I'm going to tell you, come back to this video in 2 years, and I think you're going to see this being more prevalent than ever. And it's going to be something that's really going to hurt these two companies, because these two companies make the majority of their income off selling ads. Now, what is going on? You just saw the video of the new presidential uprunners wanting to attack these companies, and all they are really saying, and they're not being wrong, but when an individual hears this, that big conglomerate companies are stealing their information and selling it at a very healthy premium, a lot of these political uprunners are going to say, look, well, what if we gave you a little bit of that money back? What if you as the individual wanted to make some of that money? Because it is your real estate, it is your property, and it is your right, your information. So why is somebody else making money on it when you are not? Now, not that you'd make a lot of money, but who knows what this actually turns into fruition as. I don't know how they would pay back, whether it comes as a tax to the company itself, whether the company pays you directly for your information, whether these accounts are set upable, if you can set up an account where you could sell your information publicly. I don't know. What I do know is a lot of people are worried about the effects that Facebook, Google are having on the planet, and it is becoming more and more of a political problem than anything, because these are monopolies. These are becoming monopolies. And if you don't know what a monopoly is, it's when a company gets so large that it owns a dominating force in the entire capitalistic society. The way capitalism works, guys, I know that sounds kind of scuzzy, but trust me, it's not. Essentially, capitalism allows competition to equal prices out and keep everything in a fair, true valuation. But when companies like Facebook, Google, Apple, and those companies start getting so big and there's not enough competition competing, they become what we call monopolies. And when monopolies happen, the government has to step in, because it essentially means they have a lot of control over a lot of things, and they can become a dominating, manipulating force on the economy, on politics. It can really screw up the entire system when this happens. And we've seen this happen in the past. If you live in Canada, there was companies like Bell. Bell ended up having their lines, their actual infrastructure seized by the government and mandated by the government, which could very much happen to Facebook and Google. And the reason I see this being a huge problem is because it's already becoming a problem right now. Right now it's a problem, but it's not much of a problem for the investor, because the people in the public courts, the people that are trying to analyze and deal with these situations, are too old and too ignorant, not to be rude, but to understand exactly how these companies work. And these new presidential uprunners are going to be pushing these campaigns really hard in the next year, and a big portion of those campaigns are going to be regulating and protecting your information, whether it's through security or charging these companies a tax or having them directly pay you as an individual for selling their information. Now, how all of this happens, guys, I don't know. I just want you to know that I made this video first because nobody is talking about this. So slap a like and consider subscribing. My mom actually owns Facebook. I bought it for her at around $160 a share, and currently it's trading over $200. So I'm actually going to start leveraging her out of those positions. She's too old to have this much risk. So I want to put her into safer index funds or something that's going to protect her over the long term. I find this such a fascinating thing. And I actually even traded Facebook to pay my taxes. I made about $600 or $700-ish, give or take. Don't quote me on that exactly. But I did make some money. I held Facebook for a very quick swing trade. Didn't hold on to it for very long. But these are companies, guys, that I think you should be really paying attention to because a lot of people hold them in their funds. And I don't think they fully understand the future that might be coming for these companies. These companies have been going far too good for far too long. And for as long as people keep losing the platforms, this is going to continue. But like I said, man, you're going to see a hammer come down sooner or later. And these companies are going to run into some very staggered stock options for a good year or two until a lot of that regulation gets resolved. Not enough people talk about regulation, but it's something I pay attention to a lot because every company has some kind of regulatory issues, and I try and stay away from the ones that are, how I'm going to say, it's a tough thing to say. I used to hold Hydro One. Let me give you an example. Hydro One was a company I held for a little while, and the reason I didn't want to hold on to Hydro One anymore, and I sold it at a loss. It was one of the few companies I decided to sell at about a $500 or $600 loss. I collected dividends over a year and a bit, so I mean I mitigated some of that to an extent. But the reason I sold it was because the government ran Hydro One. It was a Canadian government, Ontario government running company, and what ended up happening was they were ripping off millions of people. Millions of people were overpaying for their bills. My mom had to fight to get money back, and then what ended up happening, as soon as my mom started getting money back because they realized they overcharged her, all of a sudden everybody started getting credits on their Hydro. And on top of that, Hydro One has been through a lot of stipulations, manipulations, and problems with the government. It causes a very rocky and unstable dividend. As you go look at Hydro One, you can see some of the fluctuations in it. A lot of that stems from problems with the company. I do not like the company. I thought I would like it as a utility, but I hated it. Now let's take a company like GEO Group, for example. It's a prison stock that I hold. GEO Group, as a prison stock, guys, has a lot of regulation around it, and a lot of people in the US are even trying to lobby against having privatized prisons. Why should people profit off people going to prison? Now, whether that comes into fruition, I seriously doubt it. The government can't maintain private prisons. It's the reason they took them privately, so people like us could maintain the infrastructure separately from the government, and the government can help fund the beds. I think it's a brilliant system. I don't think it's going anywhere, but those are regulatory issues you need to pay attention to when you own stocks. I don't know what's going to happen with GEO. Could something bad happen? Could they unprivatize them? Probably. It could happen. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it's not. The only thing I know for sure is there are people that have a life sentence with that company, and they are not leaving anytime soon. And for as long as they're in those beds and taxpayers are paying for them to be there, I'm going to be making money off of it. Feels greasy saying that. I'm not proud of saying that, but I just think it's a unique company, guys. It's a moral standing. I don't know. It's weird. I'm not going to get into it any farther. You know, that comes down to your own personal moral grounding. But anyways, these companies, guys, they are going to be heading into some headwinds, I think, in the not too distant future, and I'm glad I was able to give you this alert first. So if you do enjoy this, guys, remember to slap a like, consider subscribing, stay cool, stay awesome, guys. This was a quick video. I've been very busy today dealing with opening up those lines of credit. It's not been easy. I'll explain more about that in my next video. But stay cool, stay awesome, guys, and I look forward to chatting to you tomorrow.